No. Hey, yeah, I like that song, man. So hang on, I got the channel up on the other screen and it's trying to play on me.
Is this the part where I say it needs more cowbell?
Yeah. Oh, by the way, you can have your weather back. By the way, this is terrible. It's been in the 20s at night around here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna send it back up to you. Well, hello everybody. Oh, trying to get all the chats and better than a Taylor Swift concert. He must be talking about you. That's Brian. He's still crushing on you over there. What's going on, guys? Yeah, Brian, I set up a little, like I guess a breakaway, just playing around while we were in here messing around, trying to get everything set up. I got a bunch of new gear. Steve's battling with the camera scenario this week, not me. Uh, that's good. That's better. Well, hello, Claire. I'm yep. Uh, but yeah, I'm digging the extra screen, the new camera. It's all working a lot better. Steve's gonna be throwing a camera out the window here in a minute, guys.
There we go.
Oh, did you get it to
Problem
take
solved. When in doubt, reboot.
it? Hey, that's the first question for IT troubleshooting. There, have you rebooted? All right.
It is.
Good evening for Eastern Carolina, North Carolina, Eastern. Oh, that's confusing. Eastern North Carolina. Is it warmer up there? Well, Brian, we just had that discussion a little while ago. I've got the internet, I've got the camera to back it up, but this streaming software to stream in 1080 is a lot more expensive. So I'm gonna have to save some pennies for that, guys. As long as it keeps working and we keep doing it, I'll probably end up spending the money. But they make you pay it a year increments, and so it's not cheap.
Got to catch it. I noticed they had a Black Friday sale. That's a long ways off, but I think they were offering a pretty substantial discount on it, maybe up to half off.
Yeah.
So maybe
that
that'll,
work.
because that's about the anniversary when we started doing it. Just a little before that. So maybe that'd be a good time to check it out.
Yeah. If they have a sale, I wouldn't mind doing it. But yeah, I've got the internet to support it now. I've got the camera. Me and Steve were talking about it. I paid really good money to get a 1080 p camera that's 60 frames a second, and this software is reducing me down to 720. So, and that's the whole feed, which hopefully I won't be blurry anymore. Jack, we're using Restream. There's Restream, and what's the other one? There's two big major ones.
Yeah. Why am I not? I'm drawing a blank on it because I was actually.
I don't know. I don't use it.
No.
But well, me and Steve both have some other options, but this one's just simpler when you're trying to do it like cross continent, basically. It's just a lot easier to do that. Okay, here's a question. We got them rolling in, Steve.
StreamYard. There you go. Thanks, 3CCNC. That's the other one we've looked at.
Yeah.
So the reason Lightburn inverts it is because of its origin being the opposite of most of your other lasers. So your X tool has its origin in the upper left. Most of your others, like your 8s, are in the lower left. So X tool upper left, 8s are lower left, and so then it inverts the image. Now, I thought that in one of the Lightburn updates, it was supposed to fix that issue based on origin. So I'd have to go and see if there's a setting you can add. But
if you've got a file open already, it will set up Lightburn for that machine. So my advice, if you're using the 8s the most, then is to go in here and set that one as the default. And if you click on it, like right here, I got my 8s. You can go down here and hit that button, and it'll make the machine the default machine. So anytime you open Lightburn, your primary window is going to set up for that machine. So when you open a file, it will interpret that file accordingly. But yeah, I had that problem the other day because I kept opening files on my Xtool profile, and then when I opened the Acer, it was all backwards. So
Yeah, but I think if you still set up the file in your Xtool profile and then you open it in another one, it will still have it inverted based on which profile you created the file in. So
yeah, I just use the mirror buttons up top.
Yep, that's the easy fix is just select all and then do the horizontal mirror. So
But I would change the default machine if he's using that one the most.
yep, yeah, that's a good thing to do. Is if
that.
you have your kind of your favorite one, switch your default to that machine like you showed there. So, hey Andrew, glad you could finally catch one of these.
There you go. Norbert's got a question for you, Steve.
So yeah, setting up an LLC in most states is not difficult, and I would say if you're getting serious about it, where you think you're going to consistently do it, and by that I mean maybe more than the occasional craft fair or Facebook sale, it's definitely helpful to set that up. It does provide a little bit of liability protection. It gives you some advanced. It can give you some tax benefits, but generally you're doing an LLC as just a pass through to your own personal taxes anyway. But it's a good thing to do to help keep everything separate and gives you some options at tax time as opposed to just sole proprietor doing it in your own name. The biggest thing being obviously the liability. You can separate your personal property and your personal finances from your business if there were to be some incident that someone is going after you from liability. That's obviously kind of your big benefit to it. But outside of that, it can make some things easier at tax time if you're truly keeping all of your items separate and running it through your LLC. It'll give you a few extra options to shelter yourself from personal taxes, even though it has to come back to you eventually, unless you set up a whole S corp, and then you better be really big, or at least have lots of income to deal with it.
Yes.
Yeah, Brian Smith that's a pretty good. If you do it as an LLC, you still have to do it as your personal taxes through Schedule C. Whereas if you have multiple owners, then you separate that out, and that's where you can have some tax breaks as well. But
it does help with taxes because I write off like all my toys, all of them. I was really like, we just got through tax time, and I know you come out pretty good too. You said you didn't get hit too hard, but it benefits me like when I got to go buy a trailer to do shows with, or like this new computer or the new camera and stuff like that. I keep up with all that. I use QuickBooks. It costs me $30 a month, but $30 a month is worth it. Like today, I went and got some materials for some projects. You just take a picture of the receipt and keep moving. I don't have to stop it, put everything in.
Well, Mike's asking about white leather with an Xtool 20 watt. I have not messed with white leather. So, yeah, I imagine that'd be a little bit tougher, especially with the dial laser's not going to want to absorb that too much. But unfortunately, I haven't played with that. I mostly have been working with the darker, either the tan real leathers, or when I get into leatherette, I've got like, your grays, your blues. I even picked up a sheet of red recently. So.
Yeah, I've done black and I've done red and then just, brown. But I can honestly say I've never done white, but I would imagine the reflectivity would cause you to have to use a little more power. Maybe a lot more power. That white poster board? No, I cut now. White poster board, I can cut it like butter. Now you got to crank it up just a little bit. All right, here you go, Steve. There's another one. See all these tech questions.
That's a good question on that one. I on most of my machines, I plug it in and I just leave it and forget about it. Um, I have not tried to run it without. Some machines don't care, some do. So my take on that is set it and forget it, and I transfer everything through USB via Lightburn as far as pushing files to it. But yeah,
We can
it'd be a
test it.
quick test if you want to. You got yours over there. Just pop her out and see if it'll work.
That's what I say. We can test it and see.
Yeah,
Uh,
go for it.
switch me around here. Hang on. Why is it not? Why did it do that? Where's the other camera?
Yeah, anything to kick me off the screen. I know how you go.
No, I'm trying to. There's what I was trying to do right there. Hang on. Let me get this guy out. So we want to know if it will work with the TF card out. So let me lay that. I'll just lay that little guy right there. I'll put this over here a little bit. Scrap wood. I got plenty of it laying everywhere. Update overlay. I'm thinking it will because I've actually run some of the other machines that have similar controllers without it. So I don't think it's going to be a problem, but we'll find out. Going to run a circle. A quick cut.
Yeah, I want to think that was it the Comgrow at least earlier models of it really wanted to have the card in there and didn't like to run without it.
Some of them, I think, keep the firmware there.
Yeah, that's how you update a lot of them. But some of them they have you update it and then it deletes it. So,
yeah, apparently I didn't turn the air assist on, but yeah, it works without it. So you don't have to have it because there's the TF card right there. So now we know. Now we know. It's not a requirement. No, it works without it. Little Steve.
I don't know how that got there.
Oh. No, I just didn't want to throw that away. It was a big chunk of wood, so I just left it up there. Oh, I did do some cleaning. I had a couple more shelves today. I'm trying to get a little more organized. I had lasers. I tripped over a laser yesterday, so I had to put some of them on the wall back there. You laugh. I know you have the same problem. See, look back there.
Just laughing because I'm commiserating.
See, look behind me. There's a atom stack there. Which one is that? That's the X tool. And then you can't see it on around there. There's a Creality, and then right behind my computer's the other one.
How did you trip over them on the wall?
No, they were in the floor. That's why they're on the wall now.
Okay.
I had one over here in the floor by where my hardware bins are, and I went to get some handles, and I tripped over it. Need a bigger shop.
Nah,
I don't have.
Everybody says that. You know, doesn't matter how big your shop is or how many shops you have. You always will say you need more, but yeah, you make do with what you got.
Oh yeah, that's why I just keep hanging stuff on the wall and making more shelves.
That's why I'm looking forward to it warming up and I can work more in the outdoor shop. I just hate to pay to heat it when I'm not. A lot of my stuff I've been doing lately, I can do down here with the smaller machines. So it's like, well, why would I want to heat up the whole outdoor shop and these sub-zero temperatures? Although, hey, it's 40 right now.
Now,
I'm happy. That's warm here. Although
a year ago, colder. It is officially colder here than it is there.
I got it. So, okay. So I had to run out there earlier today, and it was 43 degrees in my shop. I stepped outside and went, I think it's warmer.
Huh. See, right now.
Hey, we're equal.
Yeah, no, guys, as far as the extra machines, I actually have a few friends that wanted to get into lasering, and So I've like adopted out of several of the machines that I've had, and I've also got a thing with the trade school. They've got like a robotics program. What do they call that? STEM program or something where they do like electronics and so forth. And some of the machines I have are headed to them. I just haven't got them up there yet. And we've I've been discussing too. If it gets too crazy, I think me and Steve are going to start having like a giveaway during the lives or something with some of this stuff. Because if it keeps coming like it is, it's something you'll have to give. So that's something I'm working on. But y'all got to realize I'm just getting this that part of it is just getting to spin up good. I don't know about Steve, but it's getting a lot more of it. And once I mean I'm not going to just sit here and pile these things up and let them ruin. I'd rather somebody be using them. So that's kind of what I've been thinking about doing is
Yeah,
just have a random comment or something and just pick one.
I think it would be easier on the live stream in sense. I've thought about doing it on some of my YouTube videos with various stuff, but you got to be careful because anytime you mention a giveaway, you get all the people hijacking your comments and sending people the notice like, oh hey, they'll do a spin on your name and steal your profile photo and say, hey, you're the winner. Contact us, and then they try to get you to pay shipping. And sadly, it is worth their time because they get enough people falling for that, and then you as the owner of the channel feel bad that there's nothing you could do other than try to catch those comments before people get to them. So I would love to do some things like that as long as it doesn't create a hassle for any of the viewers or the watchers. So
Yeah. Well, and that's
doing it
what
live might doing it live I think is probably one of the best ways to do it. It's just harder to get more people involved with it. It's just whoever happens to be able to catch it. So
yeah. Or you never know. We might could do like a postcard drawing or something. Get like a big drum and put postcards in it or something, and just spin the drum and pull a postcard out. I mean,
yeah,
that would work.
there are
Just
ways to do
go,
it.
just go old school.
Yeah, Brian, I saw that video by
Um,
Jerry Riggs Everything. That was a good one where he actually talked to the scammer about why it was worth it and everything. So, but you had a couple questions come through here. Jim's asking about the X Tool P2. So that is their new CO2 laser that they are teasing already, and I believe their launch video is on April 5th. Um, I would love to see one. I've been talking with them, might see one, but with anything of any of these manufacturers, until I have like a full on, tracking number and it's on my doorstep, I'm always kind of, I don't want to overcommit. Like, oh yeah, I'll have one here and I'll be able to tell you everything about it. Some of the cool things I've seen about it is they have kind of they have the optional base that gives you more space underneath, which you don't get with like your Glowforge and your G Wilk, whatever that one is. You have kind of a limited space with some of those without um, an aftermarket thing. And with that, they also have kind of that motorized pass through that'll give you about 8 feet of feeding. So you'd have a 24 by 8 foot engraving in one shot. But the really interesting thing is they have a dual camera setup, and that is supposed to do more of like a 3D scanning ability. And so it can, on the fly through a job, calculate that out and raise and lower your laser to stay in focus with, a curved object. So I'm really curious how that works, how they've done that, and I'd love to get my hands on one. I'm hoping maybe I can. We'll see. And if I do, you're definitely going to be hearing about it here and on my channel, and from there. It is a bit on the spendy side, though. I believe they top out around $499 or $4,999, and of course they're offering pre-sale deals right now up to $1,000 off through doing some things. But um, you know, that would be. I'd want to know more about it before I commit to that kind of money right now. So,
yeah,
but
yeah. Everything I've read about it, it seems like it's going to be. Oh, I got a little hiccupy. Everything I've read about it, it seems like it's going to be a cool machine. But yeah, it's the price tag's on up there. Uh, it's way more than I've ever spent on a laser. So we'll wait and see. And
Well,
this is a
it's in the.
question. Go ahead.
I was going to say it's in the ballpark. After I did everything to my other one, it's in the ballpark, but and just a touch smaller than my other 60 watts. So it's not outrageous if you really look at
Yeah.
it. But
Yeah, but I haven't bought any of those big roll around machines. So, but James is asking, what are the thoughts of the 40 watt versus the H or 35? And James, I can't really speak with any authority on either one, because I haven't got to put my hands on the X Tool 40 watt, so I can't say for sure. The 20 watt does fine, and if you compared, the technology and the build quality between the X Tool and the Acer, there's not a lot of difference, to be honest. That I mean, they both have some things that they're better than the other one, but it's, to me, it's a wash. Both are really good machines, in my opinion. The price is the biggest difference, I think.
I think your biggest difference is you're going to lose a little area with the X tool, and the Acer
Hmm.
starts out with a bigger area. So
Yeah.
size matters.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I keep overlooking that too because they didn't upgrade the chassis. Uh, you are going to wind up with like what 50 millimeters less workspace than you would if you had an Acer. And
Mhm.
that's the reason I'm using my Acer now for like the majority of my stuff I do now. I'm doing with the Acers because it's just work area is it's a game changer. But Brian, yeah, I saw somebody the other day that had their CNC bolted to the wall, and I was like, Steve keeps wanting me to get one. But I don't even have any wall space to put one yet.
So, one that I think you might be interested in, it's in your price range, is the new Sane Smart 4040 Pro. It's about $600, and it's got a working area about the 4040 is the basically 400 millimeters. That's the working area. So you'd have about the working area of your typical diode laser. So it's not going to take up a ton of space. The price point's pretty attractive. Uh, I've seen a few people do some reviews on it, including Dave Gatton did one, and they're kind of calling it a kind of the Minifinity because it's based. If you look at it, it's very much like a scaled down Onefinity with some differences. But I I'll be honest, having my Onefinity and looking at that one, I kind of go, that would be fun to play with. Um, it obviously is not going to stack up to my Onefinity in speed or quality or size or anything. But for a
Yeah.
starter
No, I'm just
CNC, it's for that price, that'd be a pretty good deal.
yeah. I'm eventually gonna hopefully I'll get into one, but I gotta have some more room. No, Brian, I haven't gotten my hands on the P35, but I don't. Y'all know that me and Steve both. Acer has recently reached out, and I've got my P20. You got the P20 as well, didn't you, Steve?
Mm-hmm.
And I've got a tracking number on some more stuff that they're sending me, and they claim, and like Steve said, until I get a shipping label and with the appropriate weight on that shipping notification, I don't count it because but they're saying that there's a possibility that I may be getting to try out a V35, but we'll see. But that is to be determined just yet. But yeah, the James, the P20, the P or the V35. Like I said, they have some really good qualities. I've been using the P20 pretty much continual since I got it. I still use my 20 watt X tool because I'll run multiple jobs to make more money per hour. But my go to if I just got a one off, it has been my P20 lately. Well, Brian, they may be sending you another one, man. Brian said he got his machine, but he's just got another shipping label.
Hmm.
That you might have got a bonus one. All right. Questions, concerns, comments?
Let's see. The Whaley Crafter is asking about the Laser Pecker 2 for portability. Um, I guess depends on what you're wanting to do with it. Definitely those smaller ones like that are portable. I mean, both Clack and I kind of have that atom stack. This little tripod cantilevered thing.
Yeah,
Those are definitely portable.
rotor.
I've taken mine out to my model airplane field and set it on some of our flight stands and then engraved our club logo on it, running it from a little just battery backup thing. So that's
There it is,
definitely
right there.
portable that way, but they also end up being a little bit limited in their capabilities. So it would depend on what you're looking to do. If you're doing a lot of just smaller engraving type things, definitely, the smaller and better. And even the laser pecker too is going to be more portable than what we're showing there with that cantilevered smaller one. So again, I think it would just kind of depend on what you're looking to do. If it's engraving on things you don't necessarily need to cut out and have any extra gear with it, definitely an option. I know a lot of people like them. I don't have any hands-on experience with one, so I can't speak to its quality or longevity. So, but I don't know, your thoughts?
Yeah, like you said, I think all these machines you have to consider what you're wanting it for, what you're going to be doing. If what you're going to be doing with it, if having a small, compact, easily to transport, easy to pick up machine is what you need. I think the laser pecker is app operated, so you don't necessarily have to have a computer. I mean, if those are things that benefit you, then sure. Now I tell you, they have got my attention with the newest one that they've got, which has a blue diode and the infrared all in one machine. They've piqued my curiosity with that thing, and I would not mind trying one of those guys out. Oh, I do know the two's the one that has the rollers that can roll on a surface, isn't it? Where you can take the little plate out and it rolls and it rolls back and forth.
Is that the one?
I think the
think so.
two does that. The two or the three one does that. So I mean that would be kind of cool to have. Light burn. That would be light burn.
A lot of it light burn. I also have so sometimes it'll depend. If it's something that's more structural, for example, I'm gonna have parts that fit together. I may run it through one of my CAD programs just because I trust the measurements and such there a little bit easier, and then I'll export it into Lightburn. Or I do have Adobe Creative Cloud available to me, so I sometimes use those as well. But I like trying to do as much as I can in Lightburn for the reason that a lot of people getting into this, even just buying Lightburn is a stretch that they don't want to keep paying and paying and paying. So anytime I can show them how to do it in Lightburn rather than, use this software and this software and this software and then import it, I find that that's more value to people. So it is a fairly powerful program and I like using it for that, but I do sometimes use a few others.
Yeah, yeah, because a lot of the stuff that you see behind me, these boxes with the handles and all that, those started out life as a boxes.py. I set up everything for the framework in there, and then I just bring it into Lightburn, make the changes, edit it the way I need it to be, and export the finished product. So, but like Steve says, now graphics, yes, I'll use Adobe because I have a Photoshop and Creative Cloud. But for files, typically everything ends up going in Lightburn. And I need to do some more. I've gotten a little bit better at Lightburn lately, so I need to do some more videos with that. Let's see. I don't see anything. You see any? Let me know if you see a question that I missed. Yeah, I think somebody's saying, I don't know if we caught that or not, but that is the one that has the little floor plate that comes out and it crawls around. So you got these CNC guys fired up talking about these CNC.
Yeah.
Y'all gonna make me get one.
So yeah, some of it's around this. Buy your second CNC first is the best. So I typically agree is buy the best tool you can afford most often. There are some times when you absolutely know I need this for this one job and I'm never going to do this ever again. I'm going to Harbor Freight and buying the cheap one. Um, but yeah, it's tough. I always struggle with some of these others. Some of these real lightweight desktop CNC machines are great for kind of learning the basics, but they're also very limiting. And sometimes when you have a bad tool, you learn bad habits to work around the bad tool rather than having a good tool and learning good practices. So, generally speaking, if you can, it's nice to be able to buy once, cry once. Um, but also, if you're not sure, it's kind of hard to say, well, I'm going to spend $5,000 on the Onefinity Elite versus maybe $600 on the Sane Smart Pro, the 4040 Pro, which I feel is maybe a better than like the small Sane Smart benchtop. But sometimes you also got to get what you can. See if you can make some money with it, or pay it off, save up more, and do some upgrades. But uh, yeah, anytime I know I'm going to use a tool for a long time, I'll try to uh, get the best one I can. So
Yeah. Uh, I don't know of any reason on this one here, Steve. You would have more experience with that because it gets much colder where you are than where I am. But I haven't had a problem with any of my machines, so I'll let Steve handle that because he lives up there in the Arctic Circle and everything.
hey, it's southern Canada. uh, so no, they recommend, I think, no colder than what is it, 40 degrees. The biggest issue that you're going to have, well, there's two things you got to take into consideration. Um, when the machine itself will probably be okay in the cold, but when you start using it, um, the motion and the heat on a very cold airframe could cause some rapid heating, and which can cause some condensation, which then can cause some issues to form. It's very much an issue with CO2s in that you don't want to get condensation in there around your tube, and that's why your water temperature versus your shop temperature need to actually be fairly close. And then if they get too hot, you got to start worrying more about climate controlling your shop along with your uh, water tube as well. The other thing you got to worry about is you're running this thing with a computer, and so that doesn't necessarily like to be too cold as well. You've got LCD screens that aren't going to want to freeze and aren't going to want to work after they've been frozen. Um, so I would say if you can at least keep your unheated area warm enough, like slightly above freezing, um, it's going to be easier on it. If it really is going to freeze, that's when I would start being concerned about your equipment and such. Um, I keep my outdoor shop minimal, about 40 degrees year round. Well, I should say in the winter, and then it's pretty easy to warm it up to about 50, 55 degrees, and that's fine for working in there. I'll usually kind of have a smaller space heater that it's in the area I'm working. Um, so I don't ever let my shop get below freezing just because of the damage it could do to some of the equipment I have. But I don't keep it constantly at 60 degrees either, because that's just wasted energy when I'm not out there 8, 10, 12 hours a day.
Yeah, well, I've had mine. We had that one little cold snap where it got in the teens here, and I don't have a way of keeping this place warm currently. So it gets down to about the same temperature as it is outside, and I haven't had any problems with my machines. Now I wasn't running them when they were that cold, unless I warmed it up a little bit, but I haven't seen any problem.
Yeah, and that's the thing. As long as you warm them up before you start using them, it should be fine. But there's that transition. If you start using them when they're super cold, then you could start getting some issues. So
Yeah, Brian likes my cold snap analogy too, Steve. It is cold here. When it gets down into the teens here, we lose our minds. I mean,
you
it's not
have
supposed to get that cold.
you have green grass and have already had 80-degree days. All I
Yeah.
have are Facebook memories showing that on this day last year I was out flying at my flying field.
Well, the bad news is though, all these peach trees that have already bloomed and all that, which I'm not a peach farmer, but I know Mother Nature surely planned for those late frosts. But man, they really get to, like flying helicopters over the peach fields. They got these big fans that blow on them at night and stuff. They'll rent heaters and put in the peach fields to try to keep the blooms from getting knocked
Yeah,
off of them.
you just put
I mean,
blankets over them. That's all.
yeah, it's driving them nuts right now with this temperature.
Mm.
North Carolina, it was 12 degrees last night. See, now y'all can keep that stuff. Steve sent me a little bit of this cold weather down here, and I ain't liking it because I've had to break out the hoodies and I got my heater going over there.
I still have a foot of snow in my backyard. I mean, come on. I'm not happy either.
Yeah, but yeah, those we always get teased with early springs anyway. Like it'll be 80 degrees and you're sweating outside, and then the next week you got icicles.
All right. So yes, I did tease the Ortour. Let's see if I can show this here. We'll bring this one in. So there is the Ortour rotary hooked up on the Laser Master 3. And yes, I've been playing with that a little bit this weekend, kind of getting the ins and outs of it. And so hopefully within a few days, I'll be able to put out at least an initial video on it. The build is super easy. It comes mostly assembled. You put 2 screws in it, basically to lock the angle adjustment in. And then there's the optional, end stock piece.
Is that a little suction cup?
Well, it kind of, not really a suction cup, but it's there to be a end stop to be able to grab the other side of like a cylindrical object or a round object or something. So anyway, that will be coming soon. And yes, it does work. They provide you with 2 adapter cables. I got them right here. So they give you 2 adapter cables that allow the wiring to work. So they're labeled A and B with different style machines. So it should work with the X tool, should work with the Aether, should work with pretty much most of them that I have. I'm not going to test them on all, but I'm going to run it through some of the popular ones just to be sure. But that is very cool. And I know, who was it? Someone keeps asking about the ComGrow camera mount on other lasers. The other thing that showed up was the Atom Stack camera mount, which is good and bad, but it has this is how it attaches to the laser. This is 150 millimeters of adjustability, and the Aether, whatever, is the thickest one I have, and I still had plenty of room to adjust that. So if you're looking for something that's fairly flexible, this one might fit the bill. It's got a lot of adjustability. It's got a ball head on this end so that you can angle this all over. This can go up and down. It can angle to and fro. So, it's an option. It looks pretty decent. And I forget the camera specs on here. They're actually a little bit better than ComGrow's, I know. I haven't compared them to some of the default Lightburn ones that they're selling and such, but it looked like a larger sensor and such. So anyway, hopefully some information on that
well
too. And you
I
got one of those as well.
Yeah, I got it and the cutting surface, but I hadn't done a video on either one. I've been busy doing other stuff. Had stove covers I had to get done this week, and so it's sitting right behind my computer right now, set up. I've got it on the ASMR because I don't have the only Atom Stack machine that I've got is that little tripod hanging on the wall over there, and the work area isn't even big enough for this cutting surface. So I guess the ASMR is going to stand in. It's the closest thing to an Atom Stack I've got laying around here. What other goodies you got dragging out over there?
I was just trying to find the quick one sheet or the book that came with that thing. You know, the instruction manual that we all read thoroughly.
Oh, there is. Hang on, Brian. I've been meaning to test the thing, but hang on a second. Let me go grab one. I've got a switch that a guy makes, and I'll show you what he sent to me. I haven't got to test it yet because I just don't do that many tumblers recently. But I've got a wedding that I got to do some tumblers for. So I have found, or it found me rather. Let me find this thing. I've got it sitting over here in the back corner, and I can tell you the guy's name because it's still in the box. So as far as these because the only machine that I'm aware of that allows you to have a second plug, the O-Tour, it has the second plug for the rotary, right? The LM3,
Yes,
mine does.
it does, and you have to make sure you save. So they have a cable that comes with the laser because it's a
Yeah,
smaller 4-pin. And yeah, I'm glad I saved mine because I had to dig mine out to find that. So
yeah. But anyway, this guy. Let me check my literature, guys. I haven't, like I said, I haven't tested it yet. Ronnie Schreiber. Uh, yeah, Ronnie Schreiber is his name. He sent these things, and like I said, I just haven't had a chance to put one of them on. Don't use them a whole lot as far as the rotary goes. But these are some pretty good little, and you can see here it's got, if this camera will focus right, but it's got different plugs for different machines. It's got an A and a B, and this one's got names of different machines. This camera's not going to focus real good, but this one says for O-Tour, Need Year, Two Trees, Atom Stack, and X Tool. So I guess you would use the B. This one has an A. I guess it's a different. That's a different cable, but I haven't read the instructions and put it in yet. But I got two of these little guys. He sent them to me, the A and the B. So if I ever get around to installing them, which is what I was thinking about doing with the Aitzer, is installing one of these in the enclosure, and that way I could not have to unplug and plug it in all the time, since I'm not going to be moving that machine around a lot. But I haven't got to test it yet. I really need to do that when I get another rotary. But I know I've got one coming. I've got the Aitzer rotary coming. It's shipped, so as soon as it gets here, I'll be doing some videos with it and doing some tumblers with the Aitzer to see how it does on those. And I think it's supposed to get here Wednesday, so hopefully sometime this week. And it looks a lot like the one that Steve's got with from O-Tour. It favors it a lot. Yeah, Jack, I'm bad about not using instructions. I know, but something like that I've got to because I don't want to burn up any electronics.
well, some of them are just bad too.
Yeah, yeah. Dave says he's got that switch and it works great. So if you can find that guy, I can try to type it in there. Let me see. Ronnie Schreiber. Let me type this in. I see him in a lot of the Facebook groups and stuff. So he's not exactly hiding. You should be able to find him. That's his name. But yeah, it doesn't have an email address or anything in here. If I can find it on this paperwork while we're looking for the next comment or whatever, I'll drop it in there if I can find an email address somewhere.
So BT Maker Doc's asking, is there a way to stop Lightburn from forcing you to choose between AI or Inkscape when importing an SVG file, which causes a scaling issue when loading a purchased SVG file? And this is my number one complaint with using SVG files. That's why I prefer DXF. Usually has appropriate scaling information with it. Have you you run into that? Have you played with that much?
I don't do a whole lot with SVGs. I'm like you. I stick with Lightburn or DXF files, bringing them in. I have found that a lot of people complain about my files trying to bring them in as a SVG when they have Lightburn, and that's why I always tell them just either use the Lightburn or use the DXF because SVGs are just little sketchy sometimes. Okay, I found an email address, so I'm gonna put that in here, and also I found a website. And the guy makes, I know he makes parts for guitars. That's actually what he does. So this is a web, that's the website that he had listed, harmonicaster.com.
So, I mean, as far as the SVG options, so if you go into your edit menu and your settings within Lightburn, you can tell it to default either to Inkscape or Illustrator, and that will help. It'll also, you can play with your DXF imports, and that's where mine's set to auto detect units if possible. Otherwise, you can choose, and that's something that I've had to do in the past on even some of my DXF files. But like I say, I generally, if I can get away from SVG, I will. Just for that matter, I know a lot of people like to use them. A lot of people with Glowforge and other they tend to use that. Um, yeah, a lot of my files, when I remember it, I'll actually put in a reference block that's like, here's a 1-inch scale, in both axes, so that it's easier to identify, and then that allows it to scale easier. But so yeah, I would at least check your SVG import settings under your Lightburn settings and that might help.
There you go.
Yeah, because of my CAD background with that's what I've done a lot of airplane development and such. And anytime that I might work with it in a different file format depending on the program, anytime I export it from that program for either the CNC or the laser, I default that to DXF for myself.
Yep. I agree. I'm not as experienced with the CAD software as you are. I'm learning though. I'm getting better. All right. Oh, got quiet, guys. We're gonna start talking about the weather. Do you know the camera specs, field of view, and Brian was asking him some technical stuff about your camera.
The camera specs that they list, so it's got a 1 to 2.5 inch sensor. The field of view, they're giving it as D 92 degrees, H 86 degrees, and V 56 degrees for field of view on that.
Well, it looked like it was, like I said, it's a pretty good picture. I hadn't even got to the calibration part of mine yet. But the clamp, it could use some work with some of the machines. But if you were working on a table and let's say you had your machine either adhered to the table or some kind of a jig, to me it looks just as easy to just clamp it to the table as long as you've got enough elevation to do it.
Yeah, that's definitely an option. And yeah, the clamp helps it be more universal. I noticed when I was trying it on the X tool, the back top rail is pretty narrow. It still fit, but I definitely had to kind of weight it so that it was catching the screw part over that as well. And some of the others they might bump into things depending on whatnot, because you got this bracket that's sticking forward. So if your gantry has anything hanging off the back of it, that might bump into it. That could be an issue. But
Steve, I'm gonna put this one right back on you, bro.
Um, so really, it's just I mean, it, it, if you're just getting files from someone else, it's just an import function. So you would go to import your file, and by default, Lightburn will allow you to select any of the options. Uh, However, if you're exporting, um, it is also something you can select under the save as file type. You get AI, DXF, or SVG, so you can select it there as well. The nice thing about DXF um, is that it should allow or it should include the measurement settings with the file, and so that should mean that you import it in. The software knows how to interpret those measurement settings and scales it appropriately.
But there's the different. Like you can export it as an AI, DXF, or SVG, but you can also import the DXF, is what Steve's saying. Because a lot of times, like if you design it in a software, like you said, a 3D modeling software or something, you don't have Lightburn as an export type.
Yeah, it supports quite a few more files than it exports as far as both vectors and images. So, um,
Yeah. Yes, Jay. Yes, you can. You just have to open up a different instance of Lightburn than the. I mean, you can work in the same work area that you're burning in, and it won't mess anything up. But I avoid that. I'll start a burn, minimize that window, and relaunch Lightburn, and then I'll select the machine profile. That I'm not using one of the other machines that's the similar point of origin as the machine that I'm wanting to use to make the cut with, and finish it and do my design there. So yeah, you can have. I've had 5 instances of Lightburn running at one time. 4 of them were burning, and I was designing on one, and didn't have any problems. Now, the more you do that, you're going to need to make sure your computer's up to the job.
and especially if you're using Lightburn, by default you're given 2 installs, and you can contact them, and they'll generally give you a third. So, if you have a secondary computer, you can also work on that, and then just transfer your files over either USB or through cloud storage or however, um, without having to pay for another license of it anyway. So I do that a lot, where I have a laptop to run it, and then you know been working on
Oh,
my desktop in the same room or something. But
Brian. Oh, Brian, I get it cut when I get tired of dealing with this. I go get it cut, but it's cold right now, so I'm putting it off until the warm weather comes back. Usually, it's just whenever I get a chance to go get it cut. If I don't get a chance to go get it cut, I just cut it myself.
well, I did notice on I think on Amazon they do still sell the Flowbee. So
No, I got a set of clippers. I'm actually pretty good. I can cut other people's hair pretty good. I can't cut my own though. I gap it up real bad. So what I usually do is I'll go over it 3 or 4 times, and then I'll get the wife to come in and inspect it. And if I made any major mistakes, I just shave it all off. Uh, but I haven't done that in a while. I've got a lady in town that's been pretty good about letting me walk in and cut it without having to make an appointment. So I don't do well with appointments. Ask my dentist if you don't believe that. Something big always comes up at work, and I'm not joking. I mean, seriously, like I'll have an appointment and something big will happen, and I miss them every time. So then when I do go, I'm there for like 4 hours, and I come out looking like the Elephant Man, mouth all swole up, drooling on myself. Uh, any suggestions? Let's see what this says here. Squeaking when it moves. Yeah, I thought that was. I thought I had talked to somebody. I mean, depending on how you sent me the message, I probably responded. You may not have got it if you sent it to my website. That's a little hinky sometimes. If it's squeaking, I would say check belts and maybe add some lubrication, because when I got mine, the Acer was very dry, so I had to put a little lubrication in there, and then the Creality was really really bad. where those rollers and everything are. But I would say probably the belts or timing linkage need to be checked too, just to make sure it's not binded. What do you think,
Now,
Steve?
now are you saying you lubricated the parts, or you lubricated the belts?
No, not the belts. You don't want to lubricate the belt.
You just said the
That's
belts
not.
were
It's
dry, and then you talked about lubricating. So I was kind
no.
of like,
The rails were dry.
okay,
Maybe I got
gotcha.
my words back. No, no. I mean now I do know people that if their belt's squealing in their car, they use underarm deodorant to make it quit squealing. But that's not a good idea. It's usually best to change the belt.
Yeah,
But
I was
no,
going to say, if it's squeaking, it could even be that belts are too tight. Um, so I would definitely check, mechanically, make sure that they're snug, but they're not too tight. And then, like you say, check all the rails, and that timing rod. Just sometimes that needs a little bit of lubrication as well. So
no, I do not have a jig for M1 hybrid. I don't have one of those. I mean, you could modify one to make it work probably. Uh, let's see what's this. Oh, well, thanks there, Robin. I think you'll like the Acer. I've been really happy with mine so far. Is there a way to message YouTube channel owners? Yeah, you can send emails.
yeah, I think they let you set up in your contact email, but they don't. YouTube doesn't really have like a direct messaging kind of thing.
Now, good time to point it out, guys. If you do want to message me, the best way to get me and get a reply is Facebook. YouTube, I comment back when I can, guys, but sometimes when y'all comment and I comment back, I don't get a pop up necessarily in studio saying that you've replied. So a lot of times those fall off to the side. I do have a little messaging thing through GoDaddy with my website, but I don't like it either. It's an email chain and it gets confusing. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. Facebook, Facebook comes to this. Now it doesn't like wake me up in the middle of the night usually. I've got it set to where, when I check my other messages, I will see it. So it may be a little delayed because I have to sleep at times and my wife does not like my phone going off all night. But Facebook's the way to get in touch with me. And if you haven't, me and Steve both have a Facebook page. Go over there and hit that button and follow the page. I know Steve posts a lot of pictures, Facebook, Instagram, and I do too. And it's just a lot easier to communicate sometimes using that. I like YouTube better for videos, but as far as this part, comments and stuff like that and questions, it's easier. And if you haven't already, go check out our laser engraver community page, and you can hit the button on that. We do actually check. I know I do, and I've seen Steve commenting and liking a lot of stuff in there too. So we cruise through there pretty regular, and you can catch us in there a lot of times. And there's a lot of other guys in there, Norbert and a few others that's in the room that sometimes they may actually have the answer to your question before me and Steve even get a chance to look at it. So some really, really, really good guys with lasers. Uh, Daryl, mine and Steve's are both exactly like our YouTube page, our YouTube channel. So if you will Google the Clack Shack, you will find my Etsy, you will find my Facebook, my website, everything.
Yeah,
And
and
I
I
think
usually
yours is
put
the
it
same
in
way, isn't it,
the
Steve?
yeah, and I put it in the description of all my videos. Should be in the description of the live on my channel as well. So I got the
Yeah.
links down there for people to easily find both the Facebook group as well as my Instagram, my Vintauri's workshop Facebook page and all that. So, but yeah, I would agree that the Facebook Messenger, either through the groups or message through that page, is one of the best ways to do it. So,
There you go. Uh, Not that I'm aware of. I mean, you can start over, but you're not going to
um,
start over where you left off necessarily.
yeah, because some of them, if you look at the console, there might be a command, but Xtool is also good at ignoring console commands. So, I have not. Luckily, I haven't run into this issue where I've had an alarm go off where I wasn't trying to trigger it. I always like to test, what's the flame sensitivity and the tip and things like that. Um,
You will.
I will. But I'm trying to think. I think the only times that, like when I've tripped it, it's because it was too close to the end stop, and so it triggered it right away. So it wasn't a really a restart in the middle of the job kind of scenario. But um, I think if you look at the console when it does that, it gives you uh, some information. But I think Xtool is really good about ignoring any console commands. So
Yep. But yeah, the flame sensor will get you eventually. It'll wait until you got something really important on there, and
well,
then it'll get you.
right off the get go, I turned that down to low sensitivity. So
Yeah, it'll still get you. Don't worry,
yeah,
it'll get you. If you use it enough, it'll get you. It only took one job of me being in the middle of like a hour-long burn for that thing to get permanently disabled. So I mean, I appreciate the safety and their concern for my well-being, but I can't have it messing up jobs for no reason. Yeah, see, a troublemaker is going in the
yeah.
same boat I am. He's about ready. He's about ready to go into XCS and turn that guy off. That's where he's at. He's at that point.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem with having too many bells and whistles. Um, if I call them false positives, it's kind of like when a legit email goes in your spam folder. It's a false positive. It's really bad here when you get those long jobs and all of a sudden it goes, oh, flame sensor, turn it off. That can really ruin your day. So
Mm-hmm.
I,
Yeah, I ruined a project the other night. Mm. Luckily, I saved it, but it was man. I ain't never been so close to bouncing a laser off the floor as I was the other night. And I knew better. I knew better. Uh, I had one of those. You ever have one of those situations where you got a really small spot and it's like down in a hole, so you're having to work off a current position, and you frame it, and everything works great, but then you forget to take into effect over travel when it's up to speed. Yeah, I did that the other
mhm,
night, and it knocked my workpiece halfway across the table, and then it kept burning it just random places. Yeah, not
mhm.
good. And I was sitting there telling myself, make sure you give it extra room. Make sure you give it extra room. Yeah, I miscalculated, and yeah, luckily I was able to save the project, but it took me 3 hours work versus 15 minutes. But yeah.
So I was just scrolling back here. Deborah's got an interesting question. I don't know if you want to tackle it.
Uh,
I
sure.
just put it up there for you.
Oh Lord. Hmm. Well, see, uh, maybe this is just an optimist in me, but I don't, I basically, I look at, and I think this is part of the team builder in me. I don't necessarily look at one machine necessarily being better overall than another. Now, some machines are better at some jobs than others. Some machines have added benefits that come with that machine that the other machine may not have. But if I had to compile a list, I guess if it was one of those things where somebody was going to show up every week and take away one of my machines, who would be the last to go? Currently, it would be the Acer is my number one, and it's not because it's any better quality than the X tool. It's not because it's that much more powerful than the X tool. It's what Steve said earlier. I get 30 extra millimeters of work area with the Acer that I don't get with the X tool. So that's a big deal for me. I mean, the machines run, neck to neck. I mean, as far as quality of the burn, power output, engraving ability, they're neck to neck on performance. But that 30 millimeters extra space to me is a tiebreaker. Especially now that I've got it lengthened too, to where it's up to 37 inches long. That's I mean, it's hard to compete with that because I've got 430 millimeters tall by 850 millimeters wide. And even the X tool with the added legs would not be 430. It would be what is it, 410? Ain't it 410 or 400? It's 400.
400.
So that's the big deal. And then I mean my X tool 20 watt, it's a really good machine. Now I will say this: the Creality that I'm testing right now has put the X tool in a bit of a pickle because it has the power air assist where it automatically turns on and off, and it is basically the same cutting area as the X tool, but it has that added feature of I can set the air assist off and on. And so that may be that feature that kind of nudges the X tool to third place in the shop right now. So that's how I've got them stacked up right now.
So not only on your Creality one, you were talking about this. Not only can you control it from the software, but you can adjust the flow. Right? There's
Mm-hmm.
a knob.
This roller on the front of the machine.
Yeah. So the SculptFun S30 series has the same board controlled air, which is nice. You can set that up in Lightburn, tell it to turn on and off, but it's on or off, and there's no flow control to it. And if you forget it, then it's off. So yeah, that there's all those little features that each one has that can make it more suitable for what you're doing or your work area. And I would kind of agree that a lot of them are really on par, but they have kind of their small strengths and such. Now, one thing, in the X Tools' favor is I feel they've got that thing fairly compact. It's a fairly, all their wiring and everything is fairly compact. There's not a lot that sticks above it or out to the sides. And that can be good if you have kind of more of if you want to be able to tuck it away and set it aside. It's just a little bit, the Acer is a beast, it's heavier. It's got a sturdier frame. But with that comes what I would say just a minor bit of portability issues. So there's all these kind of little variations amongst them. The Acer has a better air pump that comes with it, whereas X Tools is an add-on as far as the air pump. I like the Acer because it has variable speed. The X Tools is just on off. So there's that. But X Tool they also have a huge customer base. They spent a lot of money on marketing. They've gotten their name out there and their brand out there. So there's definitely a lot of users out there of it. And so that can kind of inherently, outside of the company support, you're going to have a lot more people that maybe have experience with it. And so, that's a thing in my radio controlled vein is when people are asking me, what brand radio should I get? I said, well, whoever you're going to fly with a lot, get that one because they know it and they can help you through things. So, there's some advantages to whether it's a better machine or not. More people using it are going to come up with more tweaks and solutions and advantages and aftermarket doodads for it. But that's not a deal breaker either. If you're the type of person who likes to tinker and play and make your own jigs and make your own enclosures, that's probably not going to matter as much to you. So, yeah, I would kind of rank those up there. I mean, end of day, I say, kind of look at your budget and then look at the types of machines that you can get within that budget. If you're in that, well, I don't think you can touch a 20 watt machine for maybe under $900, give or take. So if your budget's under that, look for a good 10 watt machine in the equivalents. And see what kind of deals you can get as far as, included accessories and such.
That was another thing about the Creality too, is the 4 limit switches. That's something that none of the rest of these guys have, not even the Acer.
Mm-hmm. But even those they're great to have. They're good to have, but they're not going to prevent you from doing everything you need to do with a laser. So
no, but if you do mess up and actually frame out of bound. You don't have to listen to that grinding that like nails on a chalkboard.
The thing I wouldn't do, so I see a lot of people with this. They get they overanalyze, and they what is it? It's there's a term for that. You basically you're stuck trying to make a decision by overanalyzing it. Um, at some point, you kind of have to pick what are your preferred. What do you know is important to you, and find something that fits your budget, and then just go with it. Yes, something else is going to come out within possibly months that does
Oh
it
yeah.
better. It's going to be bigger, it's going to be more powerful, and you could have buyer's remorse from that. That's why I think you need to pick your budget, pick your features you want, find something that does that, and just make that decision, go with it, start creating, and enjoy it. At that analysis paralysis, there you go. That's what it is. Um, uh, at some point, you got to just kind of be happy with this is the price point I'm comfortable with. These are the features I want. Here's a deal that I'm comfortable with. I'm jumping in and start creating, because something else will come out later, and you'll wish that. But if you continue to do that, you're never going to end up with a machine. Never going to have any fun with it. So.
Oh yeah. Right after, I mean, it wasn't even a year after I got my 10-watt D1. They came out with the 20, and I'm like, what the heck? I just got this one. So I mean, it's going to evolve, and it's going to evolve fast. VT Maker, if you're still here, you can turn the fire sensor off on an X tool. You just have to do it in XCS software, and they kind of messed up when they wrote the software where the fire alarm is. It's got like sensitive, not quite as sensitive, and then do not show again. The do not show again is the off switch. I don't know why they named it do not show again, but that is the off switch. That will permanently disable the flame sensor on an X Tool Pro. So just throwing that
the
out there.
unsubscribe button.
Yes, that does away with it. I can verify that. I've been running mine that way for several months now. And 3C, if you're still here, I know it's been a minute. Uh, Steve, this is more of a technical thing, and you do good with that. So I'll let you explain this. What is meant by over
Well,
travel?
I think that's when you were talking. You're thinking
Mm-hmm.
overscan.
Yep.
Yeah. So when you're setting up an engraving file and your machine is going, especially if you have bidirectional scanning on, which is on by default, so that as it's going back and forth, left and right, it is engraving in both directions. So your steppers have a acceleration and deceleration to them, and you want to turn on overscanning to allow your laser to go beyond the extents of your image, which gives it more time to be able to ramp off the power, turn around, come back up to speed, and turn the power back on. If you leave that off, what you can get is where, as it's slowing down and the power doesn't compensate as quickly, you'll get a heavier burn there because it's keeping the power on stronger and traveling slower. Whereas if you have overscan on, it knows, okay, hit this limit, turn power off, keep going but slow down, come back and get up to speed so that you get a more consistent burn in both directions. So uh, that's great, especially if you have just flat material. It's just going to go beyond, and you usually set it as a percentage. 2.5% is minimal, usually for the diodes, up to 5%, depending on yours, is all you really need, generally speaking, for that to be able to appropriately slow down, turn around, come back, get up to speed, and keep that burn consistent, because it'll be at its top speed when it's hitting that instead. So you just got to be mindful if you're engraving inside an object like in a bowl, that it has the extra distance to go. And then if you look at the preview, the faster your engraving speed is, the wider that overscan is going to try to default out to. So
Yep. But yeah, I agree. Troublemakers. There is a laser race going on, kind of like the arms race of the '90s and '80s. There's a laser race going on right now, and it is. I mean, it is just amazing at how fast these companies are trying to outdo each other. And so, like I said, make sure the machine does what you want it to do. Buy it. Maybe sometimes it may come down to who's got a sale going and who doesn't. You know, I mean, like Steve said, uh, you can pick out 2 or 3 machines and just look for the best price. But I agree, Brian. I'm not a fan of having to have a proprietary software to run the machine because I don't use that proprietary software. I think XCS is a good starter software if you don't want to buy one. It seems to have pretty good functionality, but I really wish there wasn't this umbilical cord that connects XCS to the X tool from now on, because you can't update firmware or anything else without it. That's kind of I kind of agree with Brian on that. That's kind of why I like the Acer. The Acer, I don't have to have any other software but Lightburn, and I can run it. So I
Mhm.
do like that about it.
Um, so yes, it's a feature of the software that's controlling the laser, and so Lightburn has that, and you can turn it on in a CO2 as well. Um, it's actually just in your fill settings. Um, if you yeah, just double click that, open it up,
Yeah,
and there you'll
the
have your
mouse is
overscan.
mouse is mouse has been. You can also each machine. I don't have a machine connected to the computer right now, but in the machine settings, there's also like a chart. I guess it'll let me edit. Shoot, this mouse. Uh, in the device settings, there's also some. Here we go. There it is. There's your scanning offset chart, so to speak. It goes up and like changes with the speed of the machine to accommodate. Like I said, like Steve said, that way it's not burning a hole when it turns around and comes back. If you don't, there's some pretty good illustrations of what uh, scan offset and everything will do, but primarily there's your overscan 2.5. I don't know what machine that's set on. That's the D1 Pro, I guess.
So what a lot of lasers in the past would do is they'd have your minimum power and your maximum power, and it would try to adjust the power to the speed, and that worked okay, but um, usually turning on the overscanning fixes more of those problems.
Yeah, we should do a video on, overscan off. But it basically just keeps the thing from trying to break so fast and so hard. Kind of like braking early when somebody's going to turn in front of you. You don't have to lock it down all at once. Actually Pro 10 watt. Yes, you can slightly manually, Sharon. But the way I do it on my standard 10 watt is I basically just keep the little kickstand out at an angle so that I'm only like a millimeter or two deeper than the surface focus. Because if you put that thing out at just a slight angle, like maybe 25-degree angle, little kickstand, and it touches there, that just dips you down. But you have to play with that and see. But you can cheat the focus down on any of these machines a little bit to get a little bit better cut. Some of the machines come with a gauge that tells you, go this deep for cutting this thick material, but you can kind of tweak that to your own manually. Got fun guy. S9. But
Yeah,
you got
the
an
sculpt.
extra S9?
Um, I've looked at the S10, the S30 5 watt, and I've got to build the S30 Pro Max, which is their 20 watt version of that. But yeah, SculptFun's been around for a while. They do make some really nice machines, and they do offer a lot of the parts that go from the S9 to the S10 to the S30. They use basically kind of the same base frame for the most part until you get into the 20 watt, and that uses a little beefier frame. But a lot of them are interchangeable, so you can kind of add the parts to it and kind of build your S9 up into an S10 or into an S30 as well. Um, so yeah, it's a nice machine to start out with. It's a good machine. Um, they
Siri, what's
have
the
a
temperature?
they have a that I know I'm not sure on the S9, but they have kind of an integrated air assist that's a little bit narrower. So I think less of the blow through. So the fans that are on top of the module to cool the laser module then push air through it down to the bottom. And on some of them, if you look at it and that have the bigger cone, some of that air that it's not a tight seal around that. And so some of that air can actually get into the cone, whereas the Scope Fun one is narrower and that kind of avoid that. X-Tool one is close. I know some people actually add an O-ring at the top just to help prevent some of that as well. But this is just some of the little odds and ends you find out with some of these machines. Playing around with a lot of them, it's nice to be able to share some of those with it. But yeah,
All right, I'm gonna go ahead.
This is nice.
Go
So
ahead.
Troublemaker saying that with XES, the nice was literally burn his first project 20 minutes after starting up the X tool. And that is nice when they have a software that at least gets you started and working with it. But I think anyone that's been working with them a while and working with multiple lasers will say, that's great, get your feet wet, but at some point, most people find how there's something limiting them in that software, where Lightburn is a little more complex, a lot more to learn. But with that comes a lot of flexibility and options. So it does it's a good stepping stone into it to have those. The thing I don't like is that when a lot of them will talk about their apps on the phone, I don't see a lot of use to those really. They're very limited in what they can do, and so it's kind of a cool thing to have, but I rarely ever use those. So
Agree. All right, so what I'm going to do here, Steve, I'm going to turn overscan off on one of these burns. I'm going to leave it on the other one. I got two little small burns in the workspace here on the Acer, and we'll see if I can get some demonstrable results from it. Let me make sure this is going to go on that little piece of wood. Make sure I hadn't moved it. There we go. That will take about 2 minutes. There we are. I got the Acer over there churning that guy out. But that's going to be. I got one engraved that's going to be with over travel on or overscan. My bad. And then one with it off. But yeah, that's the beast at work over there, guys.
yeah, Brian, the apps I'm talking about are the control apps for your laser, and you still need to be by it. Yeah, I agree with you. You should always be by your laser when it's running. Things can happen fast, and just because you have a camera on it doesn't mean that you can take care of the problem that comes up. You could just watch the fire grow, which can happen really fast. But there are some of them that will have like an app to be able to like burn an image quick or put some text on something, and they're okay. But I find them more frustrating to use than just having, go find an inexpensive laptop that can run Lightburn, put it next to your laser, and run it that way. Far more control. But
Yep. Yeah, and I like the Atom Stack over here. It's got the little offline controller. That's kind of neat if you're just want to burn logos to stuff and you just need to throw them out there. But
yeah, if you've got a file that you run all the time, and you had multiple machines that you wanted to mess with, that would be one way you could run one without having it hooked up and such. So. Jack, I would agree with you. I ran Lightburn or RDWorks for a good year plus till I finally drank the Kool-Aid and tried out Lightburn. And agree, yeah. You can import certain files, RD files, into Lightburn, which made it a little bit easier. But I was so happy once I jumped over to Lightburn and was using the flexibility of that over even RDWorks. So I try to recommend people, get the trial, play with it, ask some questions. You'll probably be happier. But plus the fact that Lightburn is used on so many lasers. Now, if you get into some very high-end CO2s, they don't necessarily support it. and you get into some of the like the Glowforge and others, they don't support it, but 99% of the lasers out there right now that any of us as hobbyists, small business owners and such are going to get, it will work with. So you get a different laser, it's just about kind of tweaking your settings. All your files are still going to be there. You're going to be familiar with it. So
yeah, and you can also run, like I said, multiple machines with it. So
mm-hmm.
that's it's coming
And
along nicely over there.
This is very much true. Lightburn is, for the price, especially these diodes. The G code version at $60 is a steal compared to most CNC cam software. That's those generally start around 400 on up. I mean, there's some free ones there as well, but you spend a lot of money on CNC control software.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Jack, I've got it for GRBL and Ruida. I don't necessarily have to upgrade a Galvo yet. I'd love to have a reason to, and I will when it gets to that. But
yeah, I wouldn't mind having a reason for the Galvo. I'd like to have me a fiber. Uh-oh, it's done. So looks like it's done over there. So go over and check that guy out. I'm going to show you. You can inspect the results, and we'll see what happens here. Ugh. Maybe a little too much air assist. Really not that noticeable with the Acer. I don't know why that is. But yeah, not really a whole lot of noticeable difference to me. What do you think, Steve? Any difference?
It's hard to tell on here. Yeah, I notice it a lot when I'm having to be more exacting with my power. So like when running on like leatherette and such, and you're trying to get real fine details, smaller kerfs on letters and such. Or kerns, I should say, not kerfs.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I see it. I see it right here.
That's where it is. Back it up.
I don't know if y'all can see it. Can you see it? Right there. There's a. Hang on. Let me get a light. It burned a line right in the edge. I don't know if you can see it. See that line right there?
I think that's worse. Now it's just blown out. It's really white. But yeah, normally you'll get that darker edge to it.
There it is. There it is. You can see it right there on that line on the edge. See that one compared to the other one.
Yeah, there you go.
It's cut down in there. It's cut down in there a lot deeper. So yeah, that's what that's supposed to prevent, and it does. It prevented it on that piece. So there you go. Little testing for you there. Maybe you can see it better on this camera. But there's a burnt line right down the edge of it. On the off right here, it's like, I mean, you can see it really well. It almost cut the. Matter of fact, it did. Look at the back. That's what it prevents, Steve. Look at the back of the paper, the back of the wood. It almost cut completely through here, on the where it was turning around and going back the other way. Like it almost cut the material. So yeah, that's what it prevents. Yeah, this is the biggest difference, guys, is see those two lines? That's where the machine was turning around and going the other way. It didn't do that with it on. It only did it with it off. You can see right there. All right, look at the back of the wood. It cut a line. It cut a hole through it where it was turning around going back. So obvious difference there. See you later there, VT. No, I haven't messed with the 1064. I couldn't make myself buy it for the. Whoa, look at that, little bitty Steve. I couldn't make myself buy it for the no more use than I had for the thing, and nobody wanted to donate one to the cause, so there's not one over here. Steve, have you got one, or did you get one? No. But no, I'm telling you though, the laser pecker. I just like to call it the LP. I would really wouldn't mind having one of the new ones that has the dual capability. I've really been looking at that thing.
Yeah, I agree. It'd be nice to one of those more portable, small ones because that's where I think those low wattage IR ones will shine is on smaller items, jewelry, pendants, dog tag, things like that. I think that's where those would really shine versus tying up even a larger machine like the normal size X tool with the module.
Yeah,
By the time you would engrave anything that big, you've gone to sleep twice, because they're
yeah,
not fast. Um, but for small projects, doing you know those keychain type things and such, I think that's where those would really be good. So having it in a smaller package would be great.
yeah. That's what I said. I think I wouldn't mind having the new one that they have that has the diode. It has the blue diode and the 1064 in the same machine. It's only like what, a 12 by 12 footprint probably. So I mean, it wouldn't take
Yeah,
up
if
much
that.
counter
Yeah.
space, and it would give me the ability to do some metal. Uh, because I'm not, like you said, I'm not going to be trying to engrave a 24 by 24 nothing with this metal, not with that. But it would be cool if I wanted to try to, like engraving like some of the Zippos and stuff like that, the metals that
Mhm.
the X tool and the other blue diodes can't touch. It would be nice to have a way to do one of those. So I have been entertaining getting one of those. Some other, miscellaneous stuff associated with my work, this metal that I wouldn't mind trying to engrave. But looks like everybody's bailing on us there or got quiet. They're just wanting to, yeah, fiber or the 1064, either one. I'm really, I would like to have a fiber, but yeah, too pricey.
Yeah, I don't have the business case for it right now. So it's more of I'd like to play around with it and see. So
Yeah,
it's
that's where
it's
I'm
kind of
at.
hard to it's kind of hard to commit. It'd be great to have an actual like 10 or 20 watt fiber, but you're in the $3,000+ range for something that I go, eh, what am I going to do with this? So
I've actually been looking at the 30 watts,
mm,
but I can't justify it. So till then, I'll just keep watching other people use theirs. Two questions. What was your question there, Jason? I saw something earlier. You were apologizing for asking me a bunch of questions already, which you're not the only one, Jason. Don't ever think you're the only person sending me messages asking questions. I get, I don't know, 20 or so a day.
yeah. So and anybody, if we miss your question, feel free to throw back in the chat. Sometimes they scroll by as we're talking back and forth on such. But I found one of his.
Yeah, legs to. Yeah, well, yeah, I made it for myself originally, guys. That's how most of my stuff ended up on Etsy to start with. And but yeah, I've got some little spacers basically that you can cut out of wood. You can use it to hold the honeycomb in place and elevate the machine a little bit. I made them for the X tool, but I haven't. The Acer, I've got my jig kit, but I haven't really done anything for honeycombs with it because I don't think Acer themselves sell a honeycomb with the machine, do they, Steve? Or have I just missed it? I haven't even
I
seen an
honestly
Acer honeycomb.
I haven't looked, and I'm not sure they do. They have their
Yeah,
enclosure, um, but I'd have to go and see.
yeah. But see, that's the problem with the X tool. It was easy because at the time, everybody was buying the X tool honeycomb with the X tool. Uh, but then I had some other people that had different honeycombs, and you know, I can't necessarily accommodate every single honeycomb shape on the market. I did a couple of more popular ones, but that was it. Uh, the Acer feet. What what feet is he talking about? There's not any rubber on my Acer that I'm aware of. Rubber like material. Oh no, that stuff comes off. He talking about that little. He talking about the little rubber pads. Yeah, those come off. I built the jig for it, and I don't use it anymore now. But this is actually the jig that I built. I built the jig kit for the Acer, but this is one that I was using for my stove covers. But I don't have to use this anymore since I got the new enclosure built. But yeah, even with this, those little pieces of rubber that they put on there, if you press down on it, it'll go inside that crack and kind of gets that rubber out of the way. But I do have the jig kit for it, but nothing to do with the honeycomb. But I've
Okay.
got my jigs built in there.
Acer does have a 500. Well, they do have a couple honeycombs.
Do they?
So yeah, it looks like a 300 square, 400 square, and a 500 square millimeters. So
Yeah. The 500
sometimes they're
square
not
would
great at.
work with the.
He's also asking what material you make. Do you use for your jigs?
Nuon 4.5 millimeter plywood. Almost the same stuff that you tested the other day. You did a video on testing some of it, didn't you? Underlayment.
I used it. I used it. Yeah, in one of the videos and such. I've been collecting some variety of plywoods to try to do a material test video.
Thank you, there, troublemaker. Yeah, well, it works good for the X tool stuff, and the jig kit works on any of the machines. The only issue is I can't accommodate every honeycomb on the market. But I use mine. I use them to do all kinds of stuff. This guy comes in handy too when you're doing like large things. You can make a jig like I did with this, where it's an actual. This hooks over the stove cover, and then you just set the machine on there, and it lines everything up for you. Oh, 5 minutes.
So Barney was asking, is there a way to change the power speed after a job is started on X-Tool 20? The only thing you would be able to do is if you can track where you're at in the job, you can stop it and then you can go into the preview. You can change your settings, go into the preview on Lightburn, and I believe you can choose where to start from. So that would be the closest analog to that as far as you could change your settings for the rest of the job, but then it's not going to fix what you've already done, and whatever you've already done is going to be different than the freshly burned stuff. So yeah, unfortunately, you can't really change those settings on the fly. That's something that, in the CNC world, yeah, you can, in most controllers, allow you to adjust, your feed and your speed rate and such. Not all of them, but they can. But that's with the lasers, they're kind of streaming. They package up the file and they start streaming to the machine, and it doesn't take any changes into account after that.
Yeah, no, you can actually delete the job out of the workspace usually, and it's still going to burn. I'm sure if it was big enough, maybe it wouldn't, but most everything that I cut, like once you hit go, you can't do anything to change it. It's other than stop or pause.
Yeah.
You can pause, but
But you can't, even
you
if you pause it, you
when you
can't.
start it back, yeah, it's still going to burn whatever it was already told to.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate the test. Taking it very quietly listening. Yeah, speaking of quietly listening, Kathy, I don't know if Steve, are you even aware that they started doing podcasts on YouTube now? They've got it where you can actually have podcasts.
I saw that. Yes.
Our Sunday night. I converted our Sunday night live to a podcast.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, if you're driving and can't watch it, you can always do it that way.
I've been trying to save. I do subscribe to a number of podcasts, but I try to not listen to them unless I know I'm going to be in the shop quite a bit, or if I'm got a road trip coming up, or even over to my flying field. My flying field's about 45 minutes away from my house, so yeah, maybe I'll have to listen to some of those on my way down to southeastern part of the U.S. here in the next month.
Yeah, like I said, I was like, I don't really want to do another like podcast or nothing, but I figure, because most of what we do is talk anyway. The few things that we actually show or demonstrate, at least, people just have to get mad about that, I guess. Well, Brian, The thing is the podcast is basically going to be this video in the form of a podcast, so people will actually, they'll still hear me read your comments. Brian's always in here to stir up something. I'm surprised he hasn't like complimented Steve's shirt or something tonight, but he hadn't. Appreciate it there, Barney. Like I said, we appreciate it. I know Steve does, and I do. We really, when we first started doing this, we were expecting just to basically be me and him talking about lasers for a while. So the participation and the fact that we're getting as many people as we are, I think that's pretty awesome. Um, I know not everybody can be here Sunday night. I've had one of those jobs where I work nights, and Steve has too. And so I know a lot of people have to watch it on the replay or whatever, and we would love to mix it up and change it, but consistency is kind of important when it comes to stuff like this, in my opinion. But later on, if we may have some other nights that we do something, especially if we keep getting synced up with these new machines, because we've actually gotten synced up pretty good. Because don't you said you've got you a ASMR coming too, right? The P1, the 10 watt
Yeah.
that thinks it's a 20 watt.
Yeah. Might have it as early as Tuesday. So that one's en route. But yeah, and I think yeah, I agree. Doing these consistently on a Sunday evening works for us really well, and it's something predictable people can plan on. But I think uh, as the weather warms up and I can spend more time out in my real shop, maybe we'll have to spin up some more of these kind of just random testing sessions, or come hang out while we're working on whatever kind of thing, and we'll play around with that a little bit more. And those might be more not necessarily sporadic, but spontaneous. So,
Oh yeah, yeah, Brian. One thing about it, nobody will know that my video was blurry on the podcast. That's a benefit that I didn't think of. But I think I fixed that, didn't I? I mean,
it's been good. It's been good.
I sure hope I have. It cost me. It hurt. Renting the trencher and buying the cable and everything definitely, it definitely hurt a little bit.
So, here's a question. You probably haven't experienced this yet. So with the chuck rotaries, you have to get used to measuring the circumference / diameter of the object, because that's going to affect how the laser calculates the number of steps to move to actually make an inch square.
Mm-hmm.
So they send a handy dandy flexible ruler with it. But we're talking about objects that are to fit in the laser about that long. Why do they have to send one that is 60 inches long?
You're going to need some scissors for that, Steve.
It's 150 centimeters. This is just excessive. But yeah, this is a very handy tool they actually send with them, because you need to wrap it around your object to measure it to get your calculations right. But every single one I've gotten, you get this long, dangly ruler.
Or you could use the tool in Lightburn. It tells you can put the diameter in there, and it'll give you the circumference.
Well, yeah, but you got to measure it either way.
Yeah. So. Yeah. But yeah, maybe they were wanting you to, like, I don't know, measure your waist with that or something.
No, we're not going there.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know why they would send you one that was 6 foot long. I mean, what size tumbler? I mean, what size rotary is this? I mean, are we going to be putting 55-gallon drums in it or what?
If you can, more power to you.
That would make a good video if you could rotary engrave a 55-gallon drum, Steve.
Well, so I know you.
I think you could do it.
I know you're excited to get your rotary because you want to engrave bats, right? Well,
mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to beat you to it.
What? That's not a bat. That's like a, what is that, for a mouse?
It's a bat.
You're doing a scaled version, right? Is this a scaled version?
I saw these and I thought it would be really cool to test out the quality of trying to replicate, the Louisville Slugger or whatever, make that small logo on one of these.
Yeah, I will say this though: if you engrave that with like a kid's name and put their jersey number on there actually might be a market for those among the little league fields there.
Oh yeah, yeah, I'm sure.
I mean, because that would be kind of neat. You need to make a bat holder to go with it too.
Mhm.
Cut it out of some plywood and have it where you can set it on like
Yeah,
a trophy shelf.
yeah. You just cut out then the little jersey with their number and their name on it. Yeah, you got a nice
Yeah.
little
See,
little league
there you
gift.
go.
So, but
Where'd you get
yeah,
those?
no.
You got a link?
Back when I did the RA2 demo, I actually was trying to figure out like how small can I get this to engrave, and actually went down to a round toothpick and was able to just engrave like test on it. And so maybe surprised how
That's
well
cool.
the these dialed lasers can get some of that fine detail in. So
Yeah. Jack says you can drill a hole in it and make a keychain.
I mean,
It'd be.
sure, it's about 6 inches, so it'd be
Let's say you wouldn't have to worry about losing your keys.
no, and you could bop someone in the face with it, I guess.
Ugh, so violent.
Hey, it's called personal
Oh.
space. Back up.
Yeah, but if I can get this, which like I said, I do have tracking certification that I do have the Acer rotary coming, and with the current setup, I can fit 37 inches worth of material in there. And from my research, because I'm not a baseball fan, but from my research, that should accommodate a normal sized bat. So hopefully it will. Because I do want to do
Well, I
some baseball
mean,
bats. I've got a company that asked me about it.
you're yeah, but you're not going to engrave the whole 30 some inches of the bat. You just need to make sure it fits in your enclosure. So
Yeah, I just need it to sit on top of my honeycomb on the rotary. That's all I need.
yeah, yep, yep.
Who's running their machine right now? Business cards for a client here. I was running mine, Troublemaker. Y'all seen that, but it's sitting over there idle right now. I need to go cut it off. I've got the noise filter on, so maybe y'all can't hear it. But yeah, I want to do the baseball bats. And another thing that I want to do, Steve, and this is something you may not know nothing about up there where you are, but around here, a lot of people like these walking sticks, like for hiking and stuff like that. Just not people that have disabilities or nothing. Just for like when you go
Mhm.
out hiking or when you're walking down the side of the road, you have that in case a dog comes at you or whatever. And so I like making those things. I like going through the woods and finding trees that have vines twisted around them and, cutting those and, getting the bark off of them, shining them up. And I've made one and my daughter took it because she liked it. And she used it when she goes walking or whatever. But I want to be able to engrave stuff like that too. So it's not just the bats, but most of your walking sticks are going to be around 3 foot ish. So that should work as well. Uh, there you go.
So you can you should just be able to do your library on your window. There's a save as button, and that should create a basically a backup of your library as is. That'll let you then load it back into Lightburn. It wouldn't necessarily allow you to export it to any other software per se. But if you open up your library window, there's I think load, save as, and maybe one other option on there.
Yeah, when you go up here,
Yeah, down on the bottom there, you got you should have.
yeah, you've got new, you've got load, unload, import, and then you can import. But what you if you wanted to back these up, the first thing you're going to need to do is figure out what directory they're in. And the easiest way to do that is to like act like you're going to create a new one, and it's going to show you the directory where those are being saved. Well, no, this one didn't. Never mind. Disregard that. I saved mine on a network drive. Oh, I don't know where. It depends on where you're saving your library. Just go into that folder, and you can copy those things and set a software to back them up to a different location. But I don't save any on my local machine. I thought it would.
Yeah,
I thought it would default to my location, but it doesn't. It's a load. What I'm thinking about. No, it's going all the way off into my files.
Yeah, and I misspoke. I was thinking of your material library. That one has the save option, but
Yeah.
the library, yeah, I think that is just importing from wherever you have it saved. Correct? It just
Yes.
references
Hang
that
on. I'll show
location.
you. Hang on. I'll show you what they look. I'll show you what they look like. Let me just. But yes, you have to select where to save your libraries. Ooh, Lord. Okay, this mouse gets a little weird up here. All right, so I use a network drive for mine. Uh, Scroll down here. Mouse is a little slow to respond. So this is a network drive that's actually in the house, and so I have all of my stuff is on here. So if I go to laser files, this folder contains all of my libraries. So this is what they'll look like. It'll be a LB art file. It's basically library art file. And so you could actually, if you had a thumb drive or if you had a little, auto sync software, or you wanted to set this to sync with your OneDrive or whatever, you can actually right click on it and, you know, like I don't think this one doesn't have I don't have OneDrive on here up and going. So, but you can actually add that folder to your OneDrive, or you could just download it to a thumb drive, SD card, removable media, and put it in a safe place if that's what you wanted to do. But I've got mine on a network drive, and when I go to events, I copy it over to my machine's local drive and just operate off of that copy until I get back home. I have a sync software on the machine that I use all the time over here that syncs it to a folder, but I don't have it on this laptop here. Yeah, well, Jeff, it's not a NAS. It's a hard drive that is connected to my gateway. It's a like a 7 terabyte or 5 terabyte. Just a little passport drive. My gateway has a plug in the back of it that you can plug a USB drive into, set up file shares, and do it that way. But it serves the same principle as a NAS. It's just kind of two pieces. It's not a part of the network device. It just plugs into it.
So I set up most of my files for my laser and such on Google Drive, and then that synchronizes between the 3 or 4 computers that I have set up with that, and then I can also
Mm-hmm.
access it online from a new computer if I need to. So that's kind of works as my backing it up to local devices as well as having it available in the cloud, and that works pretty well for me.
Yeah, like I said, OneDrive or Google Drive or what's Apple's cloud,
I,
iCloud.
yeah,
Any of
yeah,
those,
iCloud.
any of those would work.
Hmm.
My
Dropbox
Google
is another
Drive
one.
stays
So
full. my Mine stays full. I can't do that.
well, when I
Hang
was
on.
looking, when I was running out of space on some of the free ones, I was looking at what was had the best features and was cheapest. So I went with the Google storage for mine.
Yeah, I just got a backup utility, like I said. But
Those
well,
e-stop buttons will
Brian.
get you.
Well, Brian, as long as my shop and the house don't both burn, I should still have the copies of my files. They're about 100 feet apart, so let's hope that doesn't happen. If it does, I'll have bigger fish to fry anyway. But I technically could put a NAS out here now. I have my little AV or my little server room over there above the door now. All right. Well, let's see. What was that question I put down here? Somebody said their machine doesn't work. Oh, I accidentally hit the emergency stop. Yeah, that'll do it. Yeah, they should make it like where a light goes off, like a red indicator or something, because you really can't look at those emergency stop buttons and tell if they're up or down. You just got to twist them, see if they pop up.
Which one was it? Was it the Acer? Is that one? One of them that I
No, the
did
Acer.
recently it glows when it's hit. trying to remember which machine
I
I
can
looked at
test that.
recently.
Oh, it is the 8th.
Yeah,
It is
so
the
that
8th.
glows.
Yeah.
That glows a little bit on there. Yeah, it's nice when that's a feature there. The
Yeah, the 8th does turn
Ortour
red.
the Ortour has a multicolor power button, and when that's hit, that'll start flashing red on the Laser Master 3. So a few of them do give you some feedback on that. One of them I had, it just started screaming at you, which is really annoying.
Yeah, the most every machine I've got recently has had one of those e-stop buttons. I guess that's catching on.
It's a, I think it should be standard. It really should. It's the first thing
Oh
you
yeah,
hit when you have a problem. So
yeah, Joe. But this is not a NAS as far as this task built network addressable storage or whatever. This is a modem with a USB port. Or not really a modem. It's a router.
well, it's technically network attached storage then.
Well, yeah, but it's not a you can't like go Google. It's not a NAS. So as like the ones that I use at work, where it's got Ethernet ports on the drive itself and RAIDs and all that. This
Sure.
is just it's you could literally plug a thumb drive in the back of it.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and you could plug 3 thumb drives into a computer and rate them, and then have it be network attached storage.
Okay. If you put the two pieces of equipment together, yes, it makes it into a NAS. But separately, it is a router and a hard drive. So that's what I mean. It's not like one piece does it all. It's not it's not a task built thing. It's engineered, little redneck engineered. I had an extra passport drive laying around. There was a port there. Just had to set up some file sharing. I have a wife. I do not want a machine that screams at me. Mm.
So with spring officially here, are you looking at any more doing more like craft show type things this year, getting out with the community and doing some of those things?
You talking about me? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, every week, the month of June, every weekend, and I've had to get my buddy Klein to volunteer to help me because it was a bit more than I could handle. Every weekend of June, we have an event downtown that I'm going to be at, and the end of June they have the Peach Jam, which is this big concert, uh, like like all kinds of vendors and all that. And so I plan on I've had to work the event the past 15 years. Uh, and I was always the guy that was kind of, coordinating everything. But I have managed this year to get it to where I don't have to work the event. And I have been assured that I can take off and do my Clack Shack stuff. So I'm planning on going to it and setting up. I know May May is going to be there, and some of the other channels possibly in my area are going to be there. But I've got that coming up at the end of June, and it's going to be a concert. And I forgot the guy; it's a country singer. I can't remember his name, but he's going to be there. It's going to be a big concert, and they have all these storages, all these vendors set up. And then in September, myself and a bunch of other folks are going to be at an outing at Pedals from the Past in Jemison, which is just a few minutes from here. And then there's probably 2 or 3 other small events between now and then that I'll be out participating in. But yeah, I'm always, if they have something around here, I'm usually there. And there's a lot of events. Now I may not be selling or may not be set up operating, but I'll be there. If nothing else, just for the channel. Guy running oxygen through the air. Yeah, that doesn't sound like a great idea at all. That just doesn't sound like a good idea. There are one or more. I missed something.
Yes. Sometimes things are done on YouTube because people just like watching. It's the car wreck syndrome. Everybody slows down and looks at it. sometimes you're like, okay, that can't be a good idea. I've got to watch this. So yeah, I think adding oxygen to your air assist is asking to possibly create a really bad fire. So
Yeah, it can turn into a flamethrower.
mm-hmm.
May May's website is May May Made It. She's got a YouTube channel, Facebook, the whole 9 yards. But her and Cog Hill are probably the two biggest YouTube channels that are in my area. And like I said, both of them. I don't know if Cog Hill is going to participate in the events in downtown in June, but I know May May is. But she's my buddy. We actually go to church together, and I saw her today. Worked on a project for her this weekend and had to give it to her at church. But she's good people. Cat videos and crazy. Hey, Fluffy says she resents the cat video comment. She just ran by me.
Yeah.
That's about it. It's slowing down, guys. We're fixing to have to get out of here. Y'all don't start feeding some comments. I had run out of propane earlier. I don't know if y'all noticed, but I had to sneak over there and swap out the propane. I was getting frostbite and getting cold. But luckily, yeah, man, it's getting cold in here. I was sitting here shivering, and you started talking, and I was like, hey. So I took the opportunity to go over there and swap the propane tank out on my patio heater because I've got. Hey, that's the only way I can make it, man. That's the only way I can make it.
Well,
you can see it right there.
We're slowly creeping into the above freezing temperatures. I'm looking forward to when I can be out in my workshop doing this. So
see that patio heater right there? That's the only way I'm out here, man. I can't handle the cold.
See, I can't do that in my workshop. Mine's sealed up too much to run propane in there. It creates humidity, and I'd probably gas myself out.
No, this thing right here, this is not sealed. Now I am going to try to seal it, but I got to work on that. Yeah, see, Troublemaker said it's 62 down there. He's about to freeze to death. So I mean,
trust me, I've got a couple of Florida friends that we rib each other back and forth. I'm probably going to see them here in a few weeks too when I make that trek down to the area. So
we got to come up with something to do.
Yeah, something.
I'm gonna put you on a sawmill. I hope it's
well,
that day.
We'll have to ask the group that, when we've got about a day to hang out and mess around. What crazy stuff should we do?
What should Steve do? We can make a wrist bracelet out of that. What should Steve do? WSSD. No. Yeah. What else we got going on here? No questions. What is your regulator set to on the shop air? Oh, see, there's another one of those. It depends. One of those IT answers. I have no idea, Beaver. I tune the air assist based on each individual machine. And the way that I do that is I set up a really long burn and I sit here and basically I start out at no air and I just slowly tighten up the regulator until I get the cleanest, nicest looking cut that I can get. And I stop there. I don't worry about what the PSI says or anything like that. And that's how I do it because I don't care what the PSI is. I don't care if it's 5 or 10 or 20. I want a good clean cut. And so I just sit and adjust the regulator as it's cutting. And as it's cutting, I watch. And when it starts getting to where my cut's going downhill, I'll back it back up, find that sweet spot, and then I snap the top down on that regulator and leave it alone. So that's how I do that. How about you, Steve? What do you think?
Yeah, it's similar to running a material test to find your speeds and your power. I kind of do the same thing on my CO2 as I just kind of adjust the regulator to see where I'm getting that fine cut, getting that clean cut, and then that's where I kind of leave it. So it's get some material, run in a grave, run a cut, play with the settings, and then hopefully it won't take too much material to kind of figure out what's best.
That's why you keep these little pieces of scrap for. That way you can do stuff like that and not mess up a whole sheet. Western Canada. That's some of your neighbors, Steve.
Well, sure.
What was Steve say?
The warm part of Canada is still fairly west for me.
Yeah, it was 0. You talk about no, guys. If it's 0, no, I'm inside. Or
I think that's supposed to be 50.
Might be out here. I might come out here if it's 0, but I'm gonna have to I'll come out here, build a fire in the fireplace, and then go back in the house. Come back in a little while. Okay, there you go, Steve. Somebody liked your video.
Yeah, that's the is that the 1/4 inch sanded ply or the
2.6 is going to be
underlayment
closer
stuff?
to 3 millimeters. That's 3 millimeters is going to be 1/8 inch material, isn't it? Oh, that's right. You did do 1/8 inch.
So I've got some of this. I've got two different things from Home Depot. I've got the underlayment stuff, and then I've got this kind of 1/4 inch sanded. That's if I can find my caliper again. It's a little bit thicker but cleaner material. Both are pretty decent. And then there's the stuff from Lowe's that I was kind of curious about, and that's that Revolution ply. That's more 5 millimeter stuff. But
yeah, I mean, I have found, like I said, I use the Luan. That's about. I mean, I use other stuff too. Like I use, my cedar that I mill off the mill, and mahogany that I mill up on the bandsaw and stuff like that. But for my boxes and stuff like that, I use that Luan, and it's like I said, my cost on that is like $1.41 a square for the stuff that I get for a 16 by 16. Now for the 37 pieces that I'm using now, it's more than that, but it's $25 a sheet. So
yeah, I should probably call my dealer for Baltic Birch to see if that's gotten better. A friend down in Florida said he was finally able to get a bunch of 1/8 inch stuff in. And that's the stuff I really like in the 3 millimeter 1/8 inch stuff, and it's fairly consistent. And back then I was paying under $10 a sheet for 5 by 5 foot stuff, and so it was fairly inexpensive to use. I still have a fair amount of it, which is nice, but it'll eventually run out.
Yeah, Dennis, that's you're going to need to do some testing if you're wanting to do photos. You can actually get away with guesswork on most any other type of engrave. The only difference would be the depth or whatever. But I strongly recommend doing a test for a photo. It's really going to depend on the material. Some materials burn a lot better than others to give you those dark colors. It's going to be.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it's going to be over 100 though.
So this was a test I did on mine, and this is at 6,500 millimeters a minute and 90% power.
So that's a little over 100 millimeters per second, man.
So that's a ballpark for you.
Yeah. I usually start at 100 and 100 with wood, but I know that would be 6,000 millimeters per minute, though, right?
Yeah, this test was done at 5,000, and it was a little dark. So I think if you start at 100 millimeters a second or 6,000 a minute and go from there, that'll hopefully get you kind of in the ballpark.
Yeah, I've got some tests over here that I did, but I run them at 100 and 100. I still recommend doing a test. All this stuff stacked up everywhere. On port, hang on. Digging through my little test files over here. Let's see. I've got one around here somewhere, but this is with 20-watt machines. That's running 100 and 100. That's the X Tool and the Otura Comgrow. Pretty sure that's going to be the Acer. And then I got Kentuck tools. And I think this one's going to be the Acer as well. So 100 and 100 would be my starting point. This is MDF. Steve loves this stuff. Man, I got so much stuff piled up. I've been going and getting. I got to start putting some stuff back. But yeah, let's see. I cannot start my laser. Quarter 00 using Excel. Huh? James just wanting me to destroy my machine in his comment.
I've noticed with mine that yes, the X tool gets unhappy when it's too close to its limit switch. So, yeah, starting at 00, it's probably going to trip that because sometimes it'll overextend and then it's going to trip your limit switch and then it's going to complain about it. So, if at all possible, I try to put it more towards center. Or moved away from the starting points. If anything, I'd put it more towards your extents of 400, 400 and work back that way to get you away from those limit switches. So if you have any wiggle room that way, try that. Because those are inductive ones, so they're not mechanical. So occasionally they'll trigger early if they're acting up. They're usually pretty accurate, but.
Well, the red crosshair too has got the offset for framing. So if the red crosshair technically can't get to 00, it can only get to 16.
0. So the offset. Yeah, there you go. Sorry about that. Yeah, that's the offset of the red. I see. That's the other thing is I generally disable that and just use the power on the laser on the blue dot. Put that on about 1% power and frame that way, and then just ignore the crosshair.
Yeah, if you'll switch over to Darren, if you'll switch over to using the blue dot to frame with, you won't have to worry about that because with the X tool, just like Steve said, you always want to push, because you got to remember when you frame something, that frame is going to be 16 millimeters from where the actual laser head is going, and so it can actually cause you to have a wall collision because it's having to move over to put the laser where the crosshair was. So it's not a bad idea to turn that off. I like it. I've gotten used to it, so it doesn't bother me. But it's not a bad idea to turn that off and just use the blue dot to frame with, because that's what all the rest of the machines do. But yeah, because I've been victim to that. You frame it frames fine, and then you try to burn it, and it's without limit switches, or either you hit the limit. I learned that lesson on my 10 watt, and it would just make, that grounded noise. Somebody, who is it? James Johnson says you should, Steve, I'm gonna let you do this one. You should unadjust the belts and centric nuts on your Acer and make a video of proper adjustment.
Yeah, no,
I actually did adjust mine a little bit.
I did have to adjust mine on the Acer as well, and yeah, I think taking a couple machines and showing examples of what's out of whack and how you might fix it, what to look at, would be a helpful video for people, and things that are common amongst lasers. So your eccentric nuts, your belt tension, adjusting your frame. Making sure it's square. Sometimes those will get skewed, so you gotta look for that. But
it makes for an interesting video, but it's hard for me to intentionally mess up my machine. But it would be a good video, especially if I could do one where I could show the what an X tool looks like when that belt's not properly tied.
Yeah,
because that's a big one, man. I get those constantly. The belt timing and the belt tension and the timing. That's the two things that people mess up on more than anything. That might actually be. I may have to try to do that. I may try to do that one day this week. I'll take the 10 watt down and just mess it all up.
I'll tell you what. Right before I leave your place, I will untension all your belts and eccentric nuts so that you have to fix it on every machine.
No. We can't do that. We can't take any of my machines that I use every day and start doing stuff because my luck, something will break. Like my luck, I'll just go too extreme with it, and it'll bind and break something, and then no. So I'll do it with an old 10 watts. What I'll do. Oh, but yeah, I'll do it with an old 10 watt. Yeah, you can bet if those limit switches, like I said, like Steve said, the limit switches on the X2, I think they work off magnets, don't they, Steve? And sometimes they get a little finicky.
So that yeah, they're inductive sensors. So they're sensing the metal when it hits a certain spot, and they're generally pretty accurate. You know, they're dialed in to pick it up at a certain strength and a certain distance. So like my CO2 has those as well, and that was one of the first things that went out on it was one of the inductive limit switches. So
Yep. Frame, did you change adjustments? Yeah, I don't know what. I missed that one. Oh, I think me and you clicked the exact same thing at the same time. Hang on, I got you. All right, science guy, that's yours.
so you're probably not going to see the output of it at 1%. And so I think as long as you are being mindful of that, it's not blasting onto, like stainless steel that's going to reflect it back, um, or, you know, that you have like a mirror in there that's going to reflect it back. Um, be smart about it, but no, you could keep the goggles off for that because it's really you basically you can go in Lightroom and you can tweak it by I think 0.25% at a time. You want it just to where it turns on, so you can just barely see this dot, and that way it's not going to mark anything on there. It's very low power. Technically, enough exposure could still, hurt your eyes. So be mindful of that. But generally, no. That's
Yeah.
that's where you've got it at a low power that it's just barely putting out enough light just to be able to lightly see where it's marking on the material. So
Well, my go-to, and every machine I get in, I set that up as soon as I do a light burn setup. My go-to is I start at 0.5%, and I just move it up gradually until I can visibly see it on wood, because depending on the material. But once I get it, and like my Acer, I think it's at 0.75. I think the ASMR, I got it to 0.75, but some of the machines I actually have to go up to like 0.85 to be able to actually see it.
mm-hmm.
But if you go up too much, it will leave a line. So don't be going up
Mm-hmm.
into 2 or 3% because it will actually mark some materials. But I'd always start at the lowest possible. Just go to the lowest possible setting, like Steve said, just where you can see it. Brian, pretty much if I'm looking at my machine, I've either got my glasses on or I got the door shut on the enclosure. I wear them like safety glasses when I'm doing woodworking, so it's not really that big of a deal for me. Now I can say I have framed and not had them on, but like I said, I'm running the lowest possible threshold, and like Steve said, I'm not framing on reflective materials. It's wood, but I take shields off all of them. I can't. They get in the way. Mm, there you go. There's your one.
uh, so two things could cause that if you have artifacts that are outside the area, or if you have yours set to user origin or current position, it doesn't
Current
necessarily
current
know
position.
where it's at. And it'll throw you the warning like, hey, it may go out of bounds because it doesn't know where in the laser it's at. So it wants you to make sure that you know where it's at, and it won't go out of bounds. So that would be the two reasons why Lightburn's tripping it is you might have something on another layer that's turned on that's out of bounds, or if it's in current position, then it's always going to throw that error just because it doesn't know where it's at.
James says do it on the Acer, so he knows how to do it right. That's my workhorse right now. It's usually burning stuff. I can't get my hands in there to do it.
You just need to get a second one then.
Well, that may, there's a rumor, but I'll definitely go over some of the pitfalls. Uh, but those nuts, I really don't know for sure if I'm doing it the right way. Mine work. Mine don't make any noises. But you just want to kind of, if that thing's real hard to move, if you'll look at the way that nut sits in there, you don't want it pushing too hard against one side or the other. You want it at kind of that sweet spot in the middle to where it's equal pressure on the like track that it runs in. And it didn't take me but maybe like a couple of quarter turns to get mine adjusted right. Well, mine was tight when I got it out of the box though.
So, yeah, I mean, the eccentric nut basically is moving that wheel up and down closer to the rail and further away. And this would be really easy to demonstrate on the CNC machine I'm selling, actually, because they're more exposed. And as you move it, as you turn the eccentric nut, it's going to move it up to a point, and then it's going to move it away. Really, what you want is if the wheel is free spinning, you want to adjust it so it brings it up closer to the rail, just to the point where it grabs the rail and doesn't spin. If you push it too tight, now it's putting pressure on that rail, and it's gonna start to bind. If you so you want to have it just where you can't move that wheel by hand, but it's not pushing any harder than that. And so yeah, it's usually just a eighth to a quarter turn should be all the difference that you want to adjust that. Over time, more so on like the CNC routers that move around a lot more and get a lot more dust in there, those wheels will wear down over time, and that's where you might need to adjust it later, or even replace them. On my old open builds ox, I used to have to. I ran so much material through that. I've gone through a couple sets of wheels, and so yeah, it's not too difficult to adjust those. It's just really about the tension on it. The bigger one that can have a big impact on your cut is the belt tension, and making sure that gantry is moving parallel and square. So that would probably be the bigger one to make sure that's adjusted properly if you're getting kind of weird shaped cutouts and such. Usually that's indicative that your belts are kind of loose or too tight.
There's one that's really, really well exposed. If I can get my camera to show it, there's one right there. But you can see the nut, like the nut right there is basically going to push it one way or the other on this one. So if it rides too far this way or too far that way, it causes slop. But that's basically what the rest of them look like. They're just usually hidden. The Acer especially is kind of hidden underneath the chassis. But I try not to mess with them if they don't need it. But sometimes you can't avoid it. Like I said, when I got my Acer, you had to actually bear down to move it. So I had to go in and loosen them up a little bit and add a little bit of lubrication. Let's see. Enclosure for 2 Acers? No, I don't got no more room for a big enclosure. That's about it for me too, Mike. It's getting late. Steve's gonna keep me up too late, and I'm gonna get in trouble. Last thoughts, questions, comments, concerns. Where's Brian at?
No, Brian, I'm
here.
not selling the Onefinity. That one I'm keeping. I'm selling the older Orphan Builds one. So
now, troublemaker, I appreciate it, but I don't really want to dissect one of my machines to put it on there. That was another big problem that I had with using that little device. But But no, I started to order one when they first came out, but the more and more I thought about it, tried to figure out where it would fit in my workflow, it just didn't. It didn't fit. It didn't make sense for the expense. Yeah, I need my beauty sleep. Man, I'm like 47 years behind on that. Uh, over the years, I've got quite a deficit going on my beauty sleep. He says Steve be looking sweet tonight, though.
Oh,
I'll tell you. I think you pay Brian. Do you like pay Brian? You like send him
no,
a check? He comes in
can't
here and
afford that.
compliments you,
No, I, st-
roast me
I
all the
still,
time.
I got 3 teenage boys in the house. I can't even afford to feed them. So,
Yeah, I hear you. All right, guys. Well, like I said, if you hadn't already, unless Steve's got something he wants to go over, I think I'm about ready to call it. My feet's getting cold. Steve does send all this cold weather down here. I thought it was summer and it ain't.
see, you were
But
bragging too
there
much
it
about it.
is.
That's all it was.
Yeah, see,
Yeah.
look, Steve. They want to know what products you use for your beard.
It's called soap and shampoo.
Uh, Steve's got that. He's got that Russian thick beard going. See, I got this. I got this trailer park. This trailer park beard here. That's all. That's all I can grow.
Yeah. Well, I keep threatening
But
to shave it someday, and my wife's like, nope. So,
yeah,
but
I'm
yeah,
not threatening to shave mine. My wife will call me on it.
I got to, yeah, I'm gonna have to go too. I got a presentation to do at work tomorrow for kind of a general, like a state of the technology union update for the entire campus. I got to do so. I better
You
not
gonna
be
be
too
live
tired for
streaming
that.
that? You gonna be
No, that's
live
gonna be
streaming
so.
that?
That'd be so boring.
The State of the Union with Steve.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
I got to give a
state of the network.
technology update to the college for everybody at our big employee wide
Cool.
meeting thing. So yeah,
I hear you,
I
Jack.
better get some rest.
Jack said he's got one of these too. So hey, I'm 47 years old, and I literally just got it to where I could connect this thing. I used to only grow a goatee, and it wasn't because I didn't want a full beard. It was because I didn't have anything between the goatee and the lamb chops. There was a big hole there. So, but that's just genetics. Steve's got that Siberian warrior beard.
Hey, this is insulation in the winter, man.
That's what I said. I mean, that's why these Russian guys, they always have like really full hair and like extensive. Us people in Alabama, we don't have a need for all that hair. It just makes us hot. So I'm like, eighth generation Alabamian. So all
You
right,
know it's
guys.
bad
But
when
if you
you're out
hadn't already,
shoveling, and you know it's bad when you're out shoveling and clearing snow, and you look in a mirror and it's half frosted over, icicles dripping from it.
yeah,
I'll
that's
have you
what.
come up and
Yeah,
enjoy that.
Steve. He says Steve's got a Viking beard. That's what we need to do. My next thumbnail, I'm gonna have Steve with a Viking helmet on, and yeah, that would be
Yeah.
fun. I'm gonna have some fun with a thumbnail. All right, guys. If you hadn't already, hit the like button, subscribe. Go hit the bell, all that good stuff. Like I said, y'all are the reason that Steve and I can come up with some of the stuff and research these machines and test them for you. The more y'all like, subscribe, follow, share, all that good stuff, it helps us out, and we greatly appreciate it. If you're not already, go check out the Laser Engraver community page. That's kind of where the folks that hang out with us in here, such as Brian and Jack, and I know there's a few other guys that are in there. We just kind of share each other's projects and share information and try to help each other out. It is exactly what it says. It's just a community of folks that enjoy laser engraving. So that's what's cool about it. So, but anyway, off to you there, Steve. Let you have the last word with that big beard.
Yeah, I appreciate everybody stopping by tonight. It's always great to chat with everybody and answer questions. But yeah, hit up those pages, hit up that Facebook group, give us some ideas and give us some feedback there, and we'll be back at you again next week.
Hey, guys, y'all have a good one. Appreciate you.